Tank Dempsey knew of Grigory Weaver and Oskar Strauss in Vietnam. The mysteries behind Tank Dempsey, Edward Richtofen, and Yuri Zavoyski have been revealed in Ashes of the Dams, Easter eggs, and dialogue. With the soul of Dempsey being saved in this map alongside Maya, it's no surprise he got an entire exclusive side quest dedicated to giving us his backstory. Plus, we got our first peeks into the backstory of Richtofen, and a potential return of ULTIMIS Richtofen through his journal. All of that and more in this video as the Black Ops 7 zombie story takes off, so stay tuned.
I am beginning to surmise we are from different times, perhaps different realities, definitely different gene pools.
We'll start with this new version of Richtofen, as what we get from his is brief, but it does answer a lot of contentious questions surrounding him.
This will help you on your journey.
This looks suspiciously like a weapon I designed for the Panzerwaffe.
Richtofen mentions that he was just about to receive the RITTERKREUZ before being catapulted into the dark ether.
1 minute I am stepping up to receive the RITTERKREUZ medal. The next I am in this hellhole, snatched away. Denied the honor of a lifetime.
Whatever. I was sitting on a crapper when it happened to me. Ain't seen a shred of toilet paper since.
So that tells us that these characters were seemingly yoinked from their universes even before the Tag the Totem ending casted the multiverse into the dark ether, and just didn't appear until now. Or their universes are somehow still existing inside of the dark ether and time is flowing in them. Either way, this is certainly a wrench in the logic of how Tag the Totem's ending happens in the greater timeline of the zombie story, and exactly what happened to the multiverse here. But what exactly is the RITTERKREUZ? The Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross, RITTERKREUZ des Eisernen Kreuzes, was the highest military decoration awarded by Nazi Germany during the Second World War. It was presented personally by Adolf Hitler to recognize supposed exceptional bravery in combat or outstanding military leadership. The medal itself is an enlarged iron cross, worn at the neck on a red, white, and black ribbon with a silver frame surrounding a black enamel core bearing a swastika at the center. The basic Knight's Cross was already extraordinarily selective, with approximately 7,300 awarded over the course of the war. Higher grades were introduced to recognize even greater feats. The Knight's Cross with oak leaves, with swords, with diamonds, and finally the unique Knight's Cross with golden oak leaves, swords, and diamonds, which was awarded only once to the Luftwaffe pilot Hans Ulrich Rudel. To earn a Knight's Cross, a soldier or officer typically had to perform acts far beyond normal expectations of courage or success, leading a hopelessly outnumbered unit to victory, personally destroying dozens of enemy tanks single-handedly, sinking massive tonnage of shipping as a U-boat commander, or flying hundreds of close support missions while continually returning damaged aircrafts to base. Recipients were often people who had already been wounded multiple times yet kept fighting, or who took insane risks that turned the tide of a battle. In short, getting the RITTERKREUZ meant you had done something apparently so remarkable that even the high command, surrounded by propaganda heroism, had to admit it was legitimately superhuman under fire. This medal being presented to him seems to confirm that, even if we apparently aren't getting the alternative Nazi New York map, where Germany apparently dropped a bomb on the city, which is apparently no longer happening for Black Ops 7's DLC, but we'll just have to see, it's just a rumor, means that Richtofen being behind Germany managing to nuke New York City and win World War II is still likely a real part of the lore and the storyline. We might just not be seeing that as a physical map. As you know, before release, there was a shortened version of his bio, which removed the part mentioning him being a hero of the Reich. However, in the launch version of the game, that part still remains in his bio. And this would mean Richtofen would be coming from a world shortly after the war, where during its victory celebrations, he was being awarded awarded this medal for being the key to Germany winning. We don't get much more than just this yet, so we don't really know too much about his backstory, but that will be fleshed out in a future map. I would suspect that just like the Dempsey side quest, we will get something similar for each of the characters in their own respective maps. And we've gotten some more interesting details on this new version of Richtofen's origins, because there are a couple quotes where he references Element 115 in the game, which is the very first time it's been referenced directly in the Dark Ether saga. He references the fact that the power pumps are all powered by Element 115, so that's the blue liquid in it, which probably does mean the blue liquid in the Janus Towers was 115 like we were speculating about all along, and he also references the fact that the wonder weapon, the Necrofluid Gauntlet, is also powered by Element 115. Now, obviously Element 115 got purged into the Dark Ether, and 115 itself was intrinsically bonded with the original characters' souls as they made up the fabric of the Ether. So with its return, it surely has to tie into why they are back, and it has crazy implications. 115 showed up in Modern Warfare Zombies, obviously taking place after this, and the ray gun mentions 115 in Black Ops 6 as well. So they've been teasing this for a while, but it's more on the nose now. What this means for the future, and with regards to the Elemental Shard though, is interesting. The other thing is regarding the jump pads. So obviously this new version of Richtofen was a part of Group 935 as well. He's wearing the patch on his arm. However, as you know, the jump pads in Ashes of the Damned also have the Group 935 logo on. However, he has a quote when you go up to them in the game where he speaks in German, and translated he says 935 ... how ?
935? How?
So he does not know why these jump pads are here. In prior videos I've been speculating that surely this has to be something to do with his dimension that he came from, and he was involved in this and is onto a lot more than we know. Unless he is just lying here, but I don't think so. Could this be an alternate version of Group 935, not from his home universe? It could have been from the home universe of one of the other characters, for example. I find that very, very strange, and I wonder what implications it has for the future. So maybe in at least one of the original Four's universe, they knew a version of Richtofen. Potentially all of the original characters knew other iterations of themselves from their universes, which is why they're not shocked at their counterparts, because they just think they are one and the same. Potentially they all even knew alternate versions of the Requiem/Terminus crew. I wonder what a Weaver would be like from Takio's time. That side Easter egg we just discussed is definitely the meatiest part of today's discussion. If you, as Dempsey, wander over to this spot you can see in the gameplay near the crashed rocket, where you can find some soldiers dead on the floor, and you can find Dempsey's dog tags from Vietnam nearby, you can interact with it, where you will get a small scene of him picking them up, where the final main quest boss of the map, a Dark Ether entity, Vaetharion, explores Dempsey's memories to find out what connected him to this place. This is for the Good Soldiers achievement/trophy. It's here we get our first look into one of the prior universes, by taking a trip back to a small segment of Vietnam. It's worth noting here that this may just be where that leaked map concept of Vietnam for Dempsey had come from. This sets up the idea that these maps weren't ever cut, but rather are going to be side quest, vignette, missions for the specific characters instead of fully fleshed out maps. So perhaps in Astra Malarum we will enter some portal or something similar to see a small set piece inside of the Newt Nazi New York map, or maybe Afghanistan for Nikolai, or Japan for Takio, instead depending on whoever's souls we next collect. I only really assume Richtofen is next because we get the most hints towards his origins without getting it confirmed, with Nikolai and Takio not setting up that much, with just a few offhand quotes about their history in both Afghanistan and Japan.
Never thought I would miss Afghanistan this much. At least it was sunny.
Back to the side quest in question though. We find out what Dark Ether Dempsey holds that is allowing the Dark Ether and the Shadowsmiths to latch onto his soul. The story begins with Tank Dempsey in Vietnam meeting up with his superior from the CIA Office of Requiem, yes that's right, Gregory Weaver. This alternative Weaver is different from the one we know, one from Tank Dempsey's home reality. And I really love that they are doing these alternative realities again, because we had it with the campaigns in in the game, having multiple choices in Black Ops 2s and Black Ops Cold Wars, and I've always said in my prior videos that the campaigns are both canon and not canon to the zombies storylines, because sometimes they intersect with the zombies events, but only in some of the alternative universes. So there's practically an infinite number of outcomes. We have only just gotten a glimpse, and only one version exists within the new timeline. So from this alternative timeline, Grigori, as a CIA operative working for the Requiem of this reality, has been assigned on a mission we don't know. All we know is the small glimpse of the mission we see. He meets with Tank Dempsey and takes him to a temple nearby in the jungle, one that looks very similar to Shangri-La's temple, and it's worth remembering that up until very late in its development, Shangri-La was intended as a Vietnam zombies map, only being changed to the Himalayas last second. There's even some old concept art from Raven Software of this map when it was originally going to be set in Vietnam, so I think this is paying homage to that, meaning that Shangri-La was a part of Vietnam in this alternative dimension. I wonder if there was also a gateway to Agatha here. So it's possible that in the home universe of this Dempsey, Shangri-La's Keeper Temple was inside of Vietnam, and the Requiem of this world were investigating. Together, as they make their way into the temple, Dempsey asks Weaver, are these guys scientists? Clearly confused at their presence deep in the jungles of Vietnam. He turns to Weaver for answers, but gets none as Weaver doesn't answer. As they begin to try and secure the perimeter, Dempsey is taken aback at the zombies attacking them, questioning their glowing eyes with shock. Weaver seems undisturbed, suggesting that the Requiem of this reality is too based around the undead and dark ether experiments, and seeing them here is no surprise to Weaver. He tells Dempsey that headshots still work, and they begin to fight off the advancing horde. They get more and more surrounded, losing ground by the second. Just when all hope seems lost, we hear Weaver shout, "Strauss, do it!" Strauss then does something to Dempsey, something that causes him to be possessed by a great evil within the temple. Shout, wait what? No, and transform, fighting off the undead surrounding them. In-game, this is represented by the transformation of Dempsey into a disciple, similar to the disciple injection Gore Streak. It could be surmised here, then, that this alternative Strauss stabbed Dempsey with the needle, causing him to transform, and that the disciple injection is the invention of Strauss from this alternative timeline. Or it could also be that Strauss activated some ancient evil within the temple to just transform a Dempsey instead. It could be a dark ether artifact of some kind, which it seems to be is the more likely of the two, given the repeated references to this straining Dempsey's spiritus and permanently changing him. Considering that we can use the disciple injection now with little consequence, I would think something more magical and dark is likely the answer, more so similar to Von List bonding with Cortifex in Vanguard. This action is what causes Dempsey to then abandon his post, as we first hear referenced at the beginning of the Easter egg. The implication here is that once he abandoned his post, many humans died. He was branded as a survivor, for this, a hero, but in reality he had been with a woman somewhere AWOL after the shocking events with Weaver and Strauss.
We good, Marine? You keep looking at me like I owe you something.
No problem. I'm good.
Vietnam vet, huh? Never saw that theater. Spend most of my time with Usurer.
Vet? The fuck are you talking about? I still got that jungle stink on me.
Where were you in country?
That's classified, sir. Like you don't already fucking know.
Look, whatever your fucking problem is, stow it. We need to work together, or we're not gonna survive this.
Sure, whatever. Just stay out of my fucking way.
And it's absolutely crazy that an alternative Requiem existed, and this isn't just something from the new Dark Ether timeline. You would think Requiem only exists now because of Eddie. Did Richtofen commandeer alternative versions of Requiem in other timelines, or was Richtofen absolutely not involved in them at all? Who knows? Now, before we continue with the rest of the video, revealing some craziness, Dempsey from Liberty Falls, the return of Yuri, diving deeper into alternative Requiem and more. I first have an awesome game to let you be aware of, so stay tuned. Before we jump into today's madness, I need 2 minutes. Literally 2 minutes of your life. Because I found the game that got me hooked harder than a kraken on a galleon. Drop everything and listen up. World of Sea Battle just smashed onto early access, and it is free, so no reason not to give it a try. Just pure golden age of sail chaos. We're talking a massive open world MMO where you are the captain. Proper historical ships, proper broadsides, proper legends being born every single day. You start with a little schooner, but grind, loot, trade, whatever, and suddenly you are strutting around in a 120 gunship of the line that makes enemies log off the second they see your name. It features over 60 real historical ships you can upgrade and customize until they are absolutely works of art. I've got heated shot furnaces glowing red, chain shot racks ready to shred sails, and a paint job so clean it hurts. Enjoy competitive sea battles. PvP on the open sea is heart in mouth stuff. 1 minute you are chasing a fat merchant, the next minute 3 guildmates drop out of nowhere and it's cannon fire for days. Or jump into guild wars, full fleets slugging it out for ports, trade routes, glory. Right now we've got 3,000 to 4,000 captains online daily, and the Discord is popping off with tactics, salt, and straight up pirate roleplay that I'll also leave linked below. The economy is 100% player driven. Raid convoys, run rum between islands, set up workshops on your own private island. Yeah, you can literally own an island if you stack up enough gold. I spent last night smuggling spices while my guild blockaded the enemy capital. Made an absolute killing. It's early access, but it already feels complete. Huge map, PvE missions, seasonal arena with leaderboards, faction wars, the lot. Devs are active, dropping roadmaps, listening to feedback, adding new ships and mechanics every month. Just skill, guts, and gunpowder. So if this sounds enticing, check out the link in the description for World of Sea Battle. Hit download for free, and let's get you on the water tonight. Trade, loot, explore, and wage war as you fight for control, glory, and riches. Will you fade as a nameless wreck, or rise as a legend, feared by foes and honoured by allies? 2 minutes is up, and I'm already itching to get back in game. Join us, Captain. The high seas are calling, and trust me, you've never felt more alive than when your broadside rips an enemy frigate in half. Welcome aboard. See you in the smoke. Now let's go make some legends, and a huge thank you to the developers, Theora Interactive, for kindly sponsoring this video. I hope you have fun. We learn on Ashes of the Dams that Dempsey is from Liberty Falls. Mind-blowing. There are various quotes about this, such as him saying, "Thought I was back in Liberty Falls for a hot minute. Fucking carrot juice. My Steel Mountain brothers would kick my ass."
Thought I was back in Liberty Falls for a hot minute. Ugh, fucking carrot juice? My Steel Mountain brothers would kick my ass.
So he seemingly was a part of the Steel Mountain Riders, where the Bloodburner bike is from, the group of riders who rescued Miller as a child after the outbreak. And there's another quote where he knew of groundskeeper Dennis Rifle that I'll play for you now.
Tastes like something that riffle bastard would have kept in his shed.
Now, this is a bit confusing because he's clearly been established as from a different timeline, but this is referencing Black Ops 6 stuff, but most likely a version of the Steel Mountain Riders and Dennis Rifle just existed, and earlier in this alternative timeline too. The only red herring here is though that there's a grave of a Dempsey relative in Liberty Falls who lived only for 20 years between 1880 to 1900. At the time, people thought this wasn't an intentional reference to Tank because Dempsey was a common last name in the area and at the time. But given that we now know he is from Liberty Falls, it's possible this was always a clue, or Treyarch have just retroactively ran with the fan theory, as they have done many times in the past. But like I said, this is the current timeline. A Dempsey or other alternative versions of the original characters should not exist, bar Richtofen, as he was the only one given a way through. So this is confusing, unless his lineage still exists in this new singular universe, but maybe Tank never does. And maybe that could be because in this timeline, Ruth died before being able to continue with the bloodline. Who knows though, it could also be a case similar to 115 Delusions, or memories bleeding between worlds, seeing as all of the crew are having similar memory loss issues now after their essence was stolen by the Warden.
Being in this place, surrounded by demons, it is allies like you that give me hope.
I concur. I would have been long dead if it weren't for my friends, whose names escape me at the moment.
We also have some quotes from Dempsey where he says, "I heard stories about Pa Vandorn, and I ain't sorry."
I heard stories about Pa Vandorn, and I ain't sorry.
So it does seem like Vandorn Fam is from Dempsey's home universe. It makes me wonder if it's actually from Liberty Falls, considering that is where he is actually from, and I could see that being the case. We can also greet Weaver as a zombie within this weird memory distortion of Vietnam, and you can see that this iteration of him does not have an eye patch. This makes sense. This version is from the Vietnam War 1955 to 1975. Unknown when he's enlisted. It's unlikely he would have taken place in the Black Ops 1 Baikonur Cosmodrome mission, executive order, in which Kravchenko infamously gouged out Weaver's eye, which took place on November 17th, 1963, seeing as he was already in Requiem by this time, existing way sooner than the Dark Ether timeline, so likely wouldn't have just been on these regular CIA missions, not about the extraterrestrial. This shows us how events in these alternate timelines can play out very differently. For all we know, alternate versions of Weaver lose their eyes in completely different ways, like accidentally tripping in the shower. An interesting prospect too, because we get a quote from Dempsey on Ashes of the Damned. They actually got sucked into the Dark Ether. Yes, that's right, whilst he was taking a shit on the toilet, and he had no effing idea what was going on. Absolutely hilarious.
Whatever. I was sitting on a crapper when it happened to me. Ain't seen a shred of toilet paper since.
It's interesting to think about the other possibilities of this Weaver's alive too. Did he know Richtofen or Samantha in this timeline? Did he potentially actually succeed in the assassination of Richtofen in this timeline and didn't kill his family instead? Albeit I find it unlikely any version but Eddie would have ever gotten a chance of a family, as that was the point of Tag der Toten's better tomorrow and a fresh start of a simpler life for him, with basically all other iterations being doomed. But I mean, Eddie ended up being kind of doomed as well, with all of the suffering he's faced in this new universe and inflicted onto others, even despite the fact he ended up successfully getting his family back at the ending of Reckoning, which is implied to be the canon ending on the map, because Weaver does joke to the new Nazi version of Richtofen, mocking him about his family, but obviously this other Richtofen doesn't know what the hell he's on about. We actually saw this Vietnam Weaver in the ending cutscene for the map too, where we get the shots of Dempsey and Maya's memories superimposed on their faces as their history comes flooding back to them, as all of the crews are suffering from memory loss post the Warden stealing their essence, as I said. So that'll be the purpose of the DLC maps for the rest of them. We see the non-eye patch Weaver show up in Dempsey's mind, clearly haunting him, and that completely changes how he views this iteration of a Weaver. It's skewed by this alter self. Maybe he's even conflating the two, and come next map, Astra Malarum, now that the full extent of his memories have returned, that could be even more so, and could be some potential conflict on the map, or at least explored in dialogue. This shot from the ending is actually from the supposed troll video people found in the files of the game before it was even released. But as it turns out, it wasn't actually a troll, and was used to bake the lighting into the scene. It shows this non-eye patch Weaver almost as a meme jump scare in Vietnam, reusing shots from the Black Ops Cold War Fractured Jaw mission. That's where this footage is from. So it isn't just a troll to stop the data miners, it had a purpose, although serving the purpose as a troll as well when people thought they were data mining the ending cutscene and found this instead. The Baikonur Cosmodrome is a cosmodrome located in Kazakhstan, used for the launch multiplayer map, a point of interest on Ashes of the Dam too. So let's dive into that alternative iteration now. The last thing I want to touch on before we conclude today is the origins of a character who isn't in our crew but plays a part in this map, Yuri Zavoyski, who in the original timeline became the Pentagon Thief, but that doesn't seem to happen this time. During the part of the quest where we are placating the troubled spirits within each point of interest, at the Cosmodrome section, we help complete the rocket launch in order to calm the spirits there, including Yuri. And we find out exactly what caused the Cosmodrome and Yuri to end up here in the first place. Yuri, in his research, had found an old leather-bound journal, and when he opened it, he began to hear the voice of the Warden, who led him into temptation and caused the Cosmodrome to fall. What is interesting though is the journal itself. We are, from what I can tell, pretty explicitly never given information as to whose journal it was or what Yuri read inside it before hearing the Warden. The most obvious answer at a glance would be that this is the Warden's journal, and I would probably believe this right now myself. But there's a small catch here. We know that the original Yuri was too driven mad by reading a journal and hearing voices in his head. He found and read the journal of ULTIMIS Richtofen, driving him mad and allowing him to hear the voice of Samantha Maxis in his head, as the dark ether tempted his soul, and he began to follow her orders. The key factors here being that the voice was not the same person whose journal it was, and exactly who the journal belonged to. This could suggest that this version of Yuri once again found and read the journal of Richtofen, which drove him mad and allowed him to hear the Warden in the same way the original Yuri heard Samantha. The question would then become, which Richtofen? It is seemingly set up that these points of interest existed in the real world timelines before being pulled here. This would mean that the Yuri here is actually from the same world Weaver, Maya, Kava and Grey came from. So this journal would likely not be the journal of ULTIMIS Richtofen unless it came out of the dark ether first. Not entirely out of the question, but would require much more of a reach, as it would have to be extracted. It could also be that this journal came from Janice Richtofen and just similarly contained forbidden knowledge that could drive someone insane, possibly from his notes on the Tome of Rituals, the Sentinel Artifact, or his nightmares. Lastly, there's also the option that this Yuri is not from the current real world, and that this journal could have belonged to a different Richtofen entirely, perhaps even the new Nazi incarnation we play as. I simply find the parallel with the journal and hearing voices too hard to ignore to not surmise that this in some way sets up Richtofen, at least a Richtofen. For now, that's all we have to discuss, but I think that Ashes of the Damned has given us a great start in identifying the origins of some of the characters. We get a very solid backstory for Dempsey, giving us a deeper look into some of the crazier worlds of the prior multiverse we had never seen before. It is very interesting to imagine Requiem in a world prior to the Tagdatoten ending, and who could have been running it. Besides this quest around Dempsey giving us some concrete answers, and way more questions, to be honest, we also get some more vague references and allusions to Richtofen's homeworld, suggesting his is the most likely candidate for a deep dive next, maybe in Astra Malarum. And in that map we will almost certainly get a more direct tease to either Takeo or Nikolai, marking them as the next on the list. I will say too that I suspect whatever character gets left for last will end up having some large scale story twist to change our perspective on them or perhaps the plot as a whole. Richtofen is a candidate if the twist is simply that he planned this or that he is evil and this is part of his grander scheme. Takeo is also a great candidate if our prior theories about his home dimension are true, which you can check out in this video's description or linked on screen. We also find out on the map that the Cosmodrome is actually from Nikolai's home universe, so that much is interesting, and I wonder how that ties into his backstory. Maybe since we are going to space next map, we launch the rocket of course in the main quest, then maybe Nikolai's origins could be explored in Astra Malarum. Nikolai specifically says, so rumors that Zarya Cosmodrome vanished were true. So it seemingly got taken into the dark ether before Nikolai got taken, and he somehow knew about it. So there's got to be links to the Thunder Project operations. Did Nikolai want to be a space pilot? A cosmonaut? But what did you think? Did I miss anything here about the original characters? Or let me know if you've heard any interesting quotes, because I've not gotten a chance to hear them all yet. If you have any recordings or screenshots, definitely send me on Twitter, because they could spark discussions for future content. What character do you want to see more of next in the game, or want to see discussed more of on the channel? Let me know. Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already for latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye. To conclude this video, I want to shout out the fact that I finally decided to make a Patreon and Cameo account, both of which will be linked below if you want to help support the channel. On Patreon, you can sign up for the lowest tier of just $1.50 a month to get exclusive access for my Discord, where we can discuss zombies lore, trivia, or whatever you desire. A place where you lot, my community, can better connect. Your names will also appear at the end of videos thanking you. For $5.50 a month, you get all of that, and I will be doing exclusive exclusive monthly Q&As. And for $16.50 a month, you again get all of that, and I will be doing exclusive lore videos, such as unpacking niche parts of the Treyarch documents I've been breaking down on my channel that don't as much suit a main channel video. For the highest tier, only for those with the ability to and who really want to help out the channel, you get special bonuses I've yet to determine and verbal shoutouts at the end of every video. Over on Cameo, I can do funny videos reading lines from zombies, memes like how do we tell him, birthday wishes for friends or family, or whatever else you desire, practically anything. Of course, none of this is necessary, just watching and enjoying the videos helps me immensely and I greatly appreciate it. However, I think it's about time I start setting up additional revenue streams because Zombies' popularity is tumultuous and always goes through ups and downs. As I'm sure you've lately seen on the channel, viewership is down a lot. We go through big highs when new games release, but then during these drought periods, I need more income stability so I don't have to worry as much about it and I can focus more on improving the quality of the content. My highest quality videos are not always the ones that best please YouTube algorithms, so instead, this way I can produce my best work knowing I don't have to think as much about how well the content's going to perform. So if you'd like to support me on Patreon for exclusive content or would like a simple Cameo message, you can do so to further support me via the links below, but only if you can afford it and you actually want to help me. Don't feel like you are forced to, don't worry, I'll survive. It would just help relieve some of the pressure during inconsistent periods on the channel so I don't have to solely rely on AdSense revenue and still maintain the sheer quantity and quality of content that I put out. Obviously I pump out literally a boatload of content and some of these are absolutely crazy projects over hour-long videos, so it's a lot on my plate, especially when these videos don't perform particularly well. And I've not been doing many sponsorships lately to help supplement revenue either, so it would greatly help. Thank you for any generous person once again who does kindly support the channel. It means the absolute world and will really help keep this boat afloat.